Wagwan. It's your humble host, Big Truck, conversation and reviews. Shout out to my man, Officer Tatum. He has some things to say. I have some things to say. Go ahead and show him some love on his channel. And then the spirit of the universe is going to take us home. Grab your shoulder pads and your helmet, and let's get this work.
Legends of the Street. That's a walking legend right there. Legendary. They whisper about him in corners.
And saying they broke, they don't have no money. Let me just say this from the onset. It's very unfortunate what happened in this situation, but responsibility is responsibility is responsibility. Accountability is accountability is accountability.
And you will be held accountable. Carmelo Anthony will be held accountable for his actions. Period. There's no way of getting around it.
You brought a knife, you stabbed somebody in the heart. That kid will never see life again on earth. He will never come back. His twin brother will miss him for the rest of his life. No matter how much you cry, no matter how much you weep, no matter how much you pray, he ain't ever coming back. You'll never see his face. You'll never be able to hold him, hug him, talk to him, nothing. Parents lost a son because you decided that you're going to let you brought the knife anyway. So you decided you a gangbanger, thug, a gangster or somebody, and you're going to stab a person who say something to you.
You want to be thugnificent. Look what being thugnificent got you. I can look into you and tell you are entitled, think your shit don't stink. Okay? And there's someone else inside you besides you. Now, again, it's sad that this thing took place, but justice has to be done. You can't even use self-defense. That was even thrown out of the court.
I think you got claims of self-defense. So I feel bad that this happened, but I do not feel bad of the consequences that will come. And his family knew that he was guilty. They knew he was guilty.
They knew.
The lawyers knew he was guilty. The activists knew he was guilty. They should have never went through all of this knowing that that boy is guilty.
He should have taken a plea deal. That would have been the honorable thing to do. Take a plea deal. Address the court. See, you got to know how to speak court language. If folk can sit up there and speak street language, you should be able to speak court language to save your ass. Address the court, admit what you've done, take a plea deal.
All he had to do was take his son and say, son, what happened? Tell me. I'm your daddy. What happened, bro? Did they punch you? Were you out squabbing or what happened? You got to tell me the truth or you're going to go to jail for the rest of your life. I need to know. Daddy, I got mad, man. I just had that knife in my pocket. I shouldn't have had the knife. I was mad, man. They was talking noise to me, man. I got mad. They were trying to punk me in front of everybody. And homeboy put his hands on me. He tried to go at me and I stabbed him. All right. I get it. Now we got to find something to do because you ain't going to win in court. You're going to prison. So we need to be focused on a plea deal. Take responsibility. Let's show remorse in the media. We got to try to get you out of this. You my baby boy. I can't have you I can't never see you again. You messed up. You got to pay the consequences, but we got to get out here and do what's right. Let's show remorse to the family. I was wrong. It was a heat of passion. That's what you say. And therefore, you're not spending hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to defend your son, and you know he's finna go to jail.
And I guarantee you, the legal team ain't thinking that. That's what I would have done. Look, we know you're guilty. You guilty as fuck. The only way to make this seem right or make this halfway right is for you to take a plea deal. Take responsibility, address the court, and pray that the judge will lighten up that sentence a little bit.
It's insane to me. That's why they broke. They wasted all that money trying to do propaganda, paying that nut job to represent him. I bet he was taking a lot of money to represent them, or he's going to get it on the back end. GoFundMe's. You're going to put this boy through a trial instead of taking a plea deal, instead of asking for a plea deal, showing remorse, telling you were wrong. It was a heat of passion, problems at home, going through mental illness, you know what I'm saying? That's what you get. All right, let's go through some of these clips real quick. Let's start with the news clip from the defense attorney. It's clip one.
County grand jury indicted 18-year-old Carmelo Anthony for first-degree murder. He's accused of stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a Frisco ISD track meet earlier this year. Anthony was 17 at the time of the stabbing, and he's being tried as an adult. The Collin County District Attorney's Office released a rare video statement about the indictment.
When something like this happens at a school event, it shakes people to the core. But let's remember that the justice system works best when it moves with steadiness and principle. That's what we're committed to, and that's what this case deserves.
Anthony's defense attorney also put out a video statement reiterating Anthony's claims that he
when you look at his mugshot and you look into his eyes, you can look into his eyes and tell there's somebody else beside him. You can look into his eyes and okay, I know what household you come from. I know your background.
in self-defense.
We expect that when the full story is heard, the prosecution will not be able to rule out the reasonable doubt that Carmelo Anthony may have acted in self-defense.
The case has gained national attention and set off a social media firestorm. Much of what's swirling online is misinformation. The full story likely won't come out until a potential trial.
There's certainly a lot more to learn. The indictment really focuses on what we would call the elements of a crime.
Russell Wilson is a former Dallas County prosecutor who's not involved in this case. He says the misinformation could be one reason why both sides chose to record statements on such a procedural matter.
I just think it's a reflection of the serious nature of the case and the heightened public interest.
Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf, sent us a statement about the indictment. It says, quote, "I am pleased that we are moving forward. With the first-degree murder indictment, it now goes into the court system. I fully believe that justice will be served for Austin Metcalf. I look forward to the forthcoming trial, but it will never bring back my son." It will be up to the court to set a date for the trial. In the meantime, the defense and prosecution will prepare their cases. The defense will see what information the state has gathered and will do their own investigation.
Certainly, there will be a lot more things happening in between now and then, but certainly when the jury trial does come, the world will be watching.
Let me reiterate this, and your innocence of proven guilty in the court of law. However, disproportionality of defense is clearly on the table as well. Even if the guy pushed you, even if he punched you, you pulled a knife out and stabbed him in the chest. That's disproportionate force.
It doesn't matter what the situation is. The moment you pulled out a weapon, that was more lethal. The level of threat. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't match the threat. Now, if Metcalf had a knife, Carmelo Anthony knife, okay, that matches the threat for threat. But the moment you pulled out a knife, he was outnumbered.
I mean, they would have to be pummeling him for him to say, okay, I fear serious bodily injury or death. Not just because boys square up to fight and you scared that you're gonna lose the fight, so you stab a dude in the chest. Even if dudes posture up like they're gonna fight you. You still can't use deadly force against somebody because a knife is no different than a gun when it comes to deadly force. Somebody's talking noise, you get out my tent, they try to push you out the tent. You can't turn and get a gun and shoot them in the chest and go, I was defending myself.
True that.
You can't also put yourself in a situation and then claim self-defense when you were the one as the priority or the primary antagonist.
Or the aggressor.
It's going to be a hard battle for him. Let's go to another attorney speaking about the use of force.
The state has a very high prospect, almost to the level of legal certainty, of disproving every one of the required elements of self-defense beyond any reasonable doubt. This simply does not look anything like a self-defense case, a legitimate self-defense case, based on the information we now have. We can start with kind of the core issue, which is proportionality. So deadly defensive force was used here, right? Carmelo Anthony is arguing, I was justified in stabbing Austin Metcalf in the heart with a knife, killing him, of course. Clearly, that's deadly defensive force. So where's the deadly force threat? Remember, the legal question here is, did Carmelo Anthony have a reasonable perception of an unlawful, imminent, deadly force threat from Austin Metcalf? Where's the deadly force threat? Now, deadly force threats can appear in lots of different ways. It could have been a weapon in the hand of Austin Metcalf. There's zero evidence of that. No one's claiming that. But a weapon's not necessarily required. In theory, you can imagine a scenario in which it's not just Austin Metcalf threatening as claimed, Carmelo Anthony, but it's Austin Metcalf and his also sizable brother and other members of the football team. And so you have a deadly force threat embodied in disparity of numbers. The force being threatened against Carmelo Anthony in this hypothetical is not just the force that can be brought to bear by Austin Metcalf, it's the collective force of Austin Metcalf and everyone who's working collaboratively with him to bring force to bear against Carmelo Anthony. In that circumstance, if Carmelo Anthony were being attacked by a bunch of people, maybe collectively that force is a deadly force threat, a threat readily capable of causing Carmelo Anthony death or serious bodily injury. But there's zero evidence of that here. Even Carmelo Anthony has never claimed that. Not when he spoke to the police, not afterwards. So the evidence on the ground is that Austin Metcalf simply asked Carmelo Anthony to move and perhaps touched him. That's the evidence in this case.
Right. Now let's move on. But this is the reason I'm almost sure that it was such a simple thing that turned violent is because I have been in these situations before when I was in high school. And if Carmelo Anthony is anything like I was, or anything like the black people were when I was growing up, not all, but a lot, white people were an extra notch of frustration for black people. White people were an extra notch of violence, a violent perception, meaning that if a black dude says something to you versus a white dude saying something to you, you get more offended by the white man saying it to you. And I've seen it when I was growing up. Touch me and see what happened. And in my mind, when I was young and dumb, let this white boy touch me and see what happened to him. Because my mind goes straight to racism. I'm on this side of the tracks. They're on that side of the tracks. I don't care if I'm right or wrong. They really saying this to me because they don't like black people.
I get it. Because I rode in that same boat. I rode in that same boat. High school, junior high, I was getting picked on. I was skinny with glasses, yada, yada, yada. Okay? And you had some that would say certain things because it'd get under your skin. They know it would affect you in some type of way. Back then when I was young and dumb, yes, I did. Did I ever use those items in my backpack? No. Because I knew that if I used those items, what the consequences was going to be.
Saying this to me, and white boys think they better than me. And so let this white boy say something to me, I'm going to steal off on him. I ain't never going to let a white person disrespect me like that. This is the mindset of some young people. I don't know if that's his, but that's how I used to think, which is why I believe this escalated way past where it should have, because this is a simple, get out of my tent. No, I'm not. Don't talk to me like that. Two high school boys just getting in some beefs, throwing some punches. That's how it used to go. But how did it turn into get out of my tent, touch me and see what happens? And touching me ended up me stabbing you in the chest with a knife going through and through. I mean, you're just trying to go all the way through. That's why I think that's what it happened that way. White boy, touch me if you want to. Get out of my tent, man. We don't care about you. Man, get out of my tent. Try to push him, and then he stabs him. Boom.
I believe that. I can see that. White boy talking shit, which a lot of them do, especially when they have that privileged background. That entitlement, privileged background. They can talk to you in your kind of way. They can do what they want to do to you in your kind of way, and you gonna take it.
Anyway, let's go to the Gifts and Go. Is this an old Gifts and Go? Updated one. They've raised the goal is 1.3 million? The goal appears to be 1.3 million. They've raised $540,000. And this is where the controversy starts. This is where the family is appearing to be desperate for money. And some people who once supported them is beginning to feel turned off. Let's go to clip 5. This is a picture of the indictment, I believe. Let's go to the tweets, clip 6, of suspicious tweets or suspicious spending from the family, clip 6, the tweet post. Okay, here it goes. This is the tweet. It says Carmelo Anthony submitted an indignant packet, which is what the last clip was, I think. Indignant packet to the Collins County requesting court appointed legal representation as an indignant, which means financially destitute defendant. However, just 24 hours ago, the Anthony family updated their Gifts and Go campaign to reflect a need to raise an additional $1.4 million for a legal fund, which is really $1.3 million. Carmelo Anthony's mother, who managed the Gifts and Go, stated on April the 17th, 2 months ago, that they had just gained access to the funds. At that time, they had already raised $350,000. That fundraiser has now reached $538,000. According to sources, their current known attorney, Mike Howard, is more than likely charging a retainer fee of $10,000 to $30,000 and charges $400 to $500 per hour. Where did the money go? Why did they just need to raise $1.4 million? Will they be granted indignance? I hope I'm saying it right. And appointed an attorney with the gifts and go amount that they have raised. Now, I'm telling you that this stuff is a grift. If you ask me what people should be doing and what they would be doing, is that if you know your son, if you're a fraudulent family, and I'm not saying they are or not, but this is what my perception is. If you are a fraudulent family, you know your son is going to go to prison for the rest of his life. How do you maximize money on this situation? How do you get in as much money as you can, spend as much less as you can, because he finna go to jail, right? He probably gonna get indicted. So it doesn't matter. You don't need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on an attorney when he's just gonna be found guilty. So
your intentions. What y'all using the money for? Let's break it down and have a discussion. Take some of that money, put it on his books. What's really going on that you're not telling? Because I saw Carmelo Anthony's mother and father. I see the clips. To me, I see a lot of crocodile tears. My observation, you're hiding something. Deception.
you might as well get legal, court-appointed representation and go from there. Because you're going to lose anyway. Why spend $1 million on an attorney just to lose when you can get a free court-appointed one? And then, therefore, you take all that Give, Send, Go money, all that GoFundMe money, or whatever the case may be, where they got the money from. You take that, invest that money, buy this, buy that, set this up, put a trust in place, get an LLC started, get a nonprofit started, doing all this stuff in the background so you can continue to ride the wave of your son's sentencing and everything else that's going to come with what Carmelo Anthony's going to go through. Because I don't think that there's a legitimate reason for them to raise $1.3 million when they raise $500,000 for nothing. They need security? No, you don't. Yeah, they don't need security, bro. That's like me saying I need security. There's some knuckleheads every now and again that talk trash to me, but in reality, they don't want to get that smoke. I know they don't want that smoke.
A lot of people don't want that smoke. That's all they do is talk shit. Just like a large number of these modern feminist women and go on these damn podcasts and go on social media, copying and pasting shit. They don't want that damn smoke. They just talking. They ain't about that life. They ain't ready for that. Their body can't handle the smoke that a masculine man is giving, is bringing. However, 1.3 million. Why do you need that? That set amount. See, I'm not one of them people that support blacks even when they wrong. I'll support blacks no matter what. No, there ain't no damn matter what. What's really going on? I support you when you're innocent and when you're doing right. I don't support you when you are guilty and doing wrong.
To be honest, all these black people kissing their butt and gave them $500,000 and writing in there they hate the whiteys. So I don't think that's what they're using the money for. And here's just evidence, just so people don't think I made this up. Clip 7 is the mom saying that she's been able to access the funds. Roll the clip.
We were just notified yesterday that we could begin to withdraw funds, and it still takes several days to receive those funds once a request is made.
All right, perfect. I don't know how Give, Send, Go works. I don't know how they disseminate the money. I don't know if it's incrementally. I don't know if they give it to you all at once and net 30. I don't know how they do it. But this was on April 17th. That's a couple months ago. So if you got this report and you said take a couple days, y'all got some money in the bank. Let's go to the Dominique Alexander's post, which that dude is a nut. And this is where they wasting their money at. This is where they waste their money at. They got this dumb convicted criminal representing them, trashing the dad, making the public turn on them. It's insane to me. It says, today, we were informed by the Collin County District Attorney that Carmelo Anthony has been indicted. As many of you know, this is the first step in the criminal proceeding, and now the legal process will move forward towards trial. Over the past several months, I've worked closely with Carmelo's family to ensure that they have the proper legal representation and the support they need to navigate this incredibly complex and emotional charged case. Let me be honest. It's easy to go on social media and give an opinion. It's easy to post without facts. And sadly, even some people who claim to be supporters have shared misinformation, not always with bad intent, but still harmful. This case involves multiple minors and sensitive details that I cannot and will not speak about publicly. This is why, from the beginning, I have refused to let this be tried in a court of public opinion. There will be a trial. There will be a courtroom. And NGAN is committed to making sure Carmelo receives fair, I think it's say justice. I can't see behind the camera. All right, so what does that mean? Is this another tweet from him? So I guess this is a continuation of the post. To the racists and the bigots, those filled with hate who targeted Carmelo and his family and even myself, you do not intimidate us. We are not backing down. This case is yet another example of what it means to be black in America. These people are so silly. Where even our self-defense is questioned, scrutinized, and politicized. My involvement, like many others, came as a direct response to the overwhelming hate, threats, and outside influence that have surrounded the case since day one. As we move forward, I ask that you, I guarantee this dude using ChatGPT. Most people don't structure it like this with emojis. ChatGPT will put the emojis in there. As we move forward, I ask you that pray for the Anthony family, stand with us in the fight against white supremacy, support the truth and due process. We're steady, we're focused, we're committed. Let justice speak in the courtroom. All right.
Funny how he's making it a racial issue. That has nothing to do with race. You see, it has a lot to do with the intent. What was your intent with that knife? Bringing a knife to a track meet, to a sporting event. Acknowledging what you did that was wrong. In my opinion, you were out of pocket. In my opinion, you didn't have to take that man's life. In my opinion, you could have went about it another way.
When our self-defense is questioned, the self-defense is questioned because there's no evidence that Metcalf and any of them were physically aggressive towards Carmelo Anthony. His defense is questioned, his self-defense is questioned because he brought a knife to a track meet with no previous conflict with anybody that he was engaged with that day. Also, he's in a tent that didn't belong to him, which is the first thing that's an issue. And according to him and others, they asked him to leave, to get out of his tent, their tent. So with all of that being said, yeah, this is why people question. It ain't got nothing to do with you being black. It's because y'all silly. And then when you talk about racism and bigotry, look at the comments on the Give, Send, Go. Was that a Give, Send, Go account that we can move or just fixed picture? I guess it's a fixed image. So with that being said, these people are lying and being deceptive. The Carmelo Anthony family, what are y'all doing with the money? You should have made a decision to say, we're not going to pursue hiring an attorney to fight for our son because we know our son is guilty. Let's work a plea deal. That's what an attorney should have been doing, is trying to work with the prosecutors to see if there's any way that they can do a plea deal.
Welcome to hell, motherfucker!